Right now at noon, it is day 7 of the government shutdown, and it doesn't look like things will be resolved anytime soon. The Secretary of Homeland Security is headed to the southern border after 2 migrant children die in U.S. custody. And more than half of Wisconsin residents live in what's called a daycare desert. We're looking at this trend today at noon.
This is News 3 at noon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Kane. Thanks for tuning in to News 3 on this Friday afternoon. We'll get to those stories in just a bit. But first, Chris Reese is here, meteorologist Chris Reese, with a look at our weather. Maybe some light snow this afternoon.
Maybe. In fact, it's already snowing outside
really?
now. Yeah, I took a look outside just moments ago. There it is, light snow coming down. Beautiful with that Christmas tree back behind it. But we're going to be watching the potential for light snow going through the rest of today. Temperatures have already fallen to the freezing mark, and they will continue to fall. That colder air just to the north and west is going to be working its way on in as we go through the rest of the afternoon. So be mindful of that. Here's a live look over the Edgewater sky camera right now. 32 degrees. Winds are still out of the west and southwest at 8 miles per hour. We'll see them turning to the northwest through the afternoon. But here are the snowflakes as we track them on high-resolution Doppler. They're coming in right on time, actually, and I'm suspecting that this will continue to spread out just a little bit towards the afternoon. Now, it is not heavy snow at all. It will be light. Any accumulations will amount to less than an inch, and then that quickly gets on out of here by the time we get you towards the afternoon, evening. But in your forecast first, do expect temperatures falling all the way into the upper 20s by dinner time, staying through the 20s before falling towards the low 20s by tomorrow morning.
So just take it a little easy out there.
A little easy. Not a big deal, but enough to keep the spirits festive.
There we go. All right, Chris, we'll see you in a few minutes. Topping the news today, the partial government shutdown is now in its 7th day and will likely continue until the next Congress convenes on January 3rd. Acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney says negotiations to end the shutdown appear temporarily over. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer issued a statement last night saying the two sides are, quote, very far apart. The president also threatened to completely close the southern border until he gets a wall. He mentioned that on Twitter this morning. About 420,000 essential employees like Border Patrol officers, TSA agents, and law enforcement remain on the job, but around 380,000 are out of work. Mulvaney says they will get paychecks being issued today.
When there's not a, they can't come to a conclusion on their own, we shouldn't be penalized for that. And it's frustrating and it hurts.
Again, the shutdown will likely last until the next Congress convenes next week on January 3rd. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen plans to visit immigration facilities on the U.S.-Mexico border later today. That follows the death of a second migrant child in U.S. Border Patrol custody. More than 100,000 people have been detained at the border in just the last 2 months. Janet Chalman reports from El Paso, Texas.
The mother of 8-year-old Felipe Gomez Alonzo, who died Christmas Eve in the custody of U.S. Border Security, wants her son's body returned home to Guatemala. I need help to bring my son so that I can be at peace, she said, and so that this sadness in my heart can pass. She said she had hoped her son and his father would be granted asylum in the U.S. A government autopsy shows Felipe had the flu when he died Monday night, less than 3 weeks after 7-year-old Guatemalan native Jacqueline Call died from dehydration and septic shock. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen appeared on Capitol Hill earlier this month following Call's death.
Our goal is always to take care of those in our custody.
Dylan Corbett helps people seeking asylum until they're able to connect with relatives in the U.S. He says they've been swamped with thousands of hopeful migrants dropped off at bus stations with no food, clothes, or shelter.
Folks just need their basic needs taken care of. They need to understand where they are in the immigration system. They need help making their journey to their next destination.
The charitable shelters that house many families after they're released are now at capacity. This is a growing crisis because the number of migrants arriving from those caravans is expected to grow in the coming weeks. Janet Shamlian, CBS News, El Paso, Texas.
The murder of a Central California police officer is escalating the immigration debate. Investigators say the suspect was in the country illegally and believe he is still in the region. They say the officer pulled over a truck for a suspected DUI early Wednesday morning when the suspect shot him. Investigators have identified a suspect but are not releasing his name at this time. Police are trying to determine if two overnight shots fired incidents are related. The first came around bar time on East Gorham Street downtown. Officers found casings on the ground and heard shots in the distance. About the same time, shots were also reported along Packers Avenue. Police say no one was hurt. Democratic Governor-elect Tony Evers is planning more cabinet appointments. He's holding a news conference right now in Madison. This is a live shot of that, or we will have a live shot of that. Here we go. Evers appointed his first cabinet members last week. We'll share today's picks later this afternoon on Live at 4. Yesterday, he announced he will appoint Carolyn Stanford Taylor to succeed him as state school superintendent after he's sworn in as governor on January 7th. More than half of Wisconsin residents live in what's known as a child care desert. That's an area with very few options for daycare providers. The Wisconsin Early Childhood Association says there are a few reasons for that. One, the average wage for a child care worker with an associate's degree is $10 an hour, and the majority don't get health care benefits or paid time off. Two, when unemployment is down like it is now, child care workers are more likely to take on higher paying opportunities because parents assume most of the cost of child care. There's just not enough money in the industry to hang on to workers.
We hear stories of child care programs literally closing overnight and families left with no care for their kids, no ability to get to work the next day, all because it's incredibly hard right now to keep people in this field.
A shortage of daycare workers and options also mean it's harder for parents to work and employers to hire those parents. The Wisconsin Early Childhood Association does offer a reward program which gives qualified child care professionals a stipend. A Janesville man wants to help those without a place to call home. The Janesville Gazette reports he's asking the city to let him build tiny homes on a vacant city plot. We first told you about Richard Snyder back in 2014 when he started the process of restoring stained glass windows at the Oak Hill Cemetery Chapel. After a community-wide fundraiser to pay for $1.5 million in labor costs, the revamped chapel will have a grand opening this summer. But Snyder is already thinking ahead to his next project. He has pitched a plan to the city to build several 200-square-foot tiny homes that would serve as temporary housing for people who are homeless. Janesville's Housing Services Director says other groups have pitched similar tiny home ideas, but there are a few kinks that need to be worked out first. Those include changing Janesville's zoning rules to allow tiny homes, securing proper funding, and making sure the homes are equipped for Wisconsin winters. There's more to come on News 3 at noon. I'm next to see what Howard's working on in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Need just the right something to help you ring in the new year? We've got it, and it's as sweet as it is easy. Where did the year go? It's hard to believe that New Year's Eve is right around the corner. Now, we know that many of you will be staying home instead of going out to celebrate. Maybe you're having a few friends over and counting down the new year with a celebration of your own. Whether you go big or do something more laid back, we've got a fun and festive dessert dip that'll help you ring in the new year. To whip this up, we combine a cup of dry white cake mix, straight out of the box, with some canned vanilla frosting and a good amount of pink champagne. We beat this together until it's light and fluffy. You see, the combo of the frosting and the cake mix is what gives our dip a fancy bakery taste. And the champagne, well, what's New Year's without a little bubbly? Now we put this in a bowl and top it with some golden white decorating sugar to add a little shimmer. Surround it with some fresh berries and ladyfingers for dipping, and you're all set. It may sound simple, and it is, but let me tell you, it'll be the talk of the dessert table. To get the recipe for our champagne dessert dip, simply check out our website. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a party-perfect way for you to say, ooh, it's so good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Howard. Coming up next on News 3 at noon, light snow is falling in Madison right now. Chris Reese joins us after the break with our first alert forecast. Our call for action phone bank is open right now, ready to take on your consumer issues. You can call our hotline with any consumer complaints. The number is 608-270-2833. The service is open every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 11 and 1. Wall Street opens in the green, and an update on Snapchat for man's best friend. Wendy Gillette has more in today's Money Watch report.
Markets opened higher after a seesaw week that created large swings here on Wall Street. Investors are hoping to see continued rallies the 2 final trading days of the year. The U.S. has become one of the world's largest fossil fuel exporters, thanks in large part to some of Asia's top economies. China and others are gobbling up considerable quantities of liquefied natural gas, or LNG. Proponents claim the boom will help nations like China wean themselves from coal and other dirty fossil fuels. Home buyers got a break this week. Long-term mortgage rates were down just a little bit. The average rate on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage dipped to 4.5%, according to Freddie Mac. Last week, it was 4.6%. The average rate for a 15-year fixed-rate loan is 4%. And Snapchat is going to the dogs. The social media app has an answer for all those users trying to apply facial filters to photos of their furry friends. This week, Snapchat added lenses specifically for your pooch. Users can apply lenses like the flying butterfly or glasses to photos and videos of their dogs. The pet-friendly rollout comes after Snap's cat lenses were added to the app in October. And that's your CBS Money Watch report. For more, head to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Wendy Gillette.
Wendy, thank you. The Dow Industrials up 67 points at the noon hour. The NASDAQ up 27. Q106, I'm Dr. Pam Yaki out of the radio barn today, so here are your farm numbers.
After feeling like spring for a couple of days, winter has returned to the area, not just for us, but really most of the country. There is an 80-degree temperature spread across the country right now. 0 in International Falls, yes. Let me move out of the way and we can go all the way down to the 80-degree Miami. So winter taking over for the west. That does include us right here in Madison, where temperatures are now 7 degrees colder than they were 24 hours ago, which doesn't seem like a big deal. But back to the west, they are 30 degrees and beyond in terms of how much colder they are today compared to yesterday. That colder air is on the way here as well. Janesville, 11 degrees colder than 24 hours ago. Decorah, Iowa, 13 degrees colder. And we do have some light snow coming down. If you've stepped outside, the flakes aren't huge, but we do have the tiny light flakes starting to come down. The temperature now at the freezing mark as well, so you'll have to be careful for any slick spots that could develop with that snow. Winds starting to make that turn to become more northwesterly. This is the cold front now right on top of us. And here's the snow that we have been tracking lately. It has not been a lot of snow, but we're going to watch this all begin to increase in time. This is separating just where some of the heavier bands of snow are, kind of south and east of here. Some heavier bands up near Green Bay as well. But here's the deal. As we go throughout the day, this entire cold front essentially will be working its way towards the south and east, and we will get a connection with the snow coming out of Nebraska right now. And that will develop some heavier but still light snow over the area into the afternoon. Temperatures are still going to hover right around that freezing mark before the snow showers begin to taper off later on and then fall into the upper 20s. It won't be a lot of snow. In fact, I think this 7/10 of an inch might be a little bit overdone from the GFS model coming in. Generally, we're looking at a trace towards ½ an inch of snow. Now, beyond that, temperatures will be coming down. That 48 for today, that was at midnight. Temperatures have dropped all day long. They will stay coming down until the start of the new year as well. That's where we could see some days struggling to get out of the teens for highs. But as that colder air comes in, we do have to watch the possibility of a storm system. Now, the GFS in particular has two separate features. You have a northern feature and a southern feature. This model keeps them separate, which would keep us dry on New Year's Eve and into your New Year's Day. Perhaps some flurries around. Another model does something a little bit different, and several models are trying to do this. You see the northern feature, here comes that southern feature coming in, and they actually phase into one and lead to heavier snowfall around here. It's yet to be determined which model is actually right on that. Give us a couple more days to figure it out, although this is just a couple days away. But we're going to be watching that one very closely because any changes could mean big changes in our forecast. For right now, we are going to go with light snow for New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. In the meantime, enjoy the weekend. Temperatures are going to be in the 20s, yes, but I do think we'll see some sunshine once we get some of that cloud cover out of here into tomorrow afternoon. It does get cold, though. In fact, if we get any kind of snowfall around here, that Tuesday night into Wednesday could be below zero. So that is something to truly watch. This forecast does not take up for a snowpack. So if we add a snowpack to the ground on New Year's Eve, some of those temperatures may have to come down a couple degrees. So we're going to watch that closely and, of course, let everyone know.
Oh, 2 for a low.
2 for a low. That's very cold. That's without snow on the ground.
Right.
So truly cold air is working its way in.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Anytime.
There's more to come on News 3 at noon. Up next, we are getting an inside look at Delta's newest plane. And get this, it features wider seats. That story's next at noon. Well, Delta is showing off its brand new plane that'll go into service next month, linking New York to Boston and Dallas-Fort Worth. Passengers will find the plane offers wider seats and has a special system to help avoid turbulence. Chris Van Cleve takes us on board.
You could say the Airbus A220 was slow to take off. It started as a plane no one seemed to want, but now Delta is betting it's the jet you're going to want to fly on.
The reason passengers should care about the A220 are three magical words: wider coach seats. You don't hear airlines introducing planes that are actually much more comfortable for us as travelers, especially in coach.
Seat size is a common complaint with flyers. The 18.6-inch wide seats are the largest economy seats in Delta's fleet. The 109-seat A220 boasts bigger overhead bins, so your bag's going to fit, larger windows, in-seat power and TV screens, and it's the only airliner we know of that has a loo with a view. Yep. That's a window in the bathroom.
You're at 35,000 feet. It has a shade, but what a view.
The flight deck is state-of-the-art and includes an app to avoid turbulence. Delta's Flight Weather Viewer aims to show pilots where the smooth air is by crowdsourcing data from all of Delta's aircraft.
So climbing up and down, trying to find smooth air, I can look at this and say, yep, it's right there. I know exactly where it is.
If the focus on the inside is comfort, out here it's about efficiency. The plane is made of composite material, so it's lighter, and those engines are new and advanced, making the plane 20% more fuel efficient. Basically, it flies farther for cheaper. The A220 was designed by Canadian jet maker Bombardier, but struggled to win orders and prompted a trade dispute with Boeing until Airbus bought the plane and planned to move some production to the U.S. Delta ordered 75, and JetBlue another 60, which will have the new plane flying high over the U.S. for years to come. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Atlanta.
And the wider seats on the plane come as Congress has mandated that the FAA determine a minimum safe seat size on planes. That is a great idea. Wider seats.
That is a great idea. Someone who's getting ready to fly in a plane just in about a week, yeah. I'll take wider seats.
Yeah, anything.
All right, take it easy if you're going to be out driving. Temperatures have fallen towards freezing. We are seeing some snowflakes out there, though it won't amount to much.
All right, just take it easy out there. As Chris said, that's our time for now. We'll see you back here at 4. Have a great afternoon.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.